Can you listen to this faggot talking right now? Oh my god. Listen. Hi, my name is Josh, and welcome to our pilot episode of Smocks and Shots. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Jed, not Jedediah.
I exist in this world.
So we're doing a little experiment, so bear with us. We don't know if this... I exist in this world. Of course you exist in this world, you fuckstick. Oh my god. Anyways. We're doing a little experiment right now. We're doing an audio experiment. Currently, we're testing this through the voice app on a MacBook Pro, and we're going to see this, slide it in GarageBand and see what we can do with it, see how we sound. You might hear some muffles in the background and or some neighbors screaming at each other in another language, and that is all right. We are all free to express our anger with our own families and our own privacy, and sometimes it will leak out, and that's just okay.
It'll leak out.
It's patience. I was giving me sensory issues for a moment, and now I'm better. So again, welcome to our pilot episode. This would be episode number 1 of Smocks and Shots.
I would say, am I acknowledging the absence of Julie Tesh?
Oh yeah. I would say yes.
Okay, because there's going to be a lot of punchlines. It's like her having one of these without acknowledging us. There's a fair amount of punchlines, and the people should know ahead of time that there is sort of a third party to this troupe.
Yeah, and when she's not here, we're going to be talking the maddest shit about her ever fucking heard.
Oh, yes.
Ever heard. And so that's why all the lesbians who pump that pussy, you're going to want to listen on in, because we are going to be talking the shit.
Maybe
not naming names, but...
Oh, no, I think we should sometimes.
And we're also going to be smoking weed, so you might hear this sometime.
There is a self-help group that happens on Wednesday nights. And it's not for AA or NA, it's for the ex-girlfriends of Julie Tesh. And we hold all of those stories.
All of them.
Yes.
All of them. It was kind of a...
So it would be in her best interest to be here with us, because then she can tell you stories about us, but she's not here today.
Nope. All right. So, I think, though, one thing that we should start with is sort of the origin of this podcast and why we think that anybody would pay attention or want to listen to our stupid gay-ass Midwestern stories, living it rural, is Jed and I were talking. I recently relocated from Portland, Oregon, and Jed and I were talking one day, and I told him this. I just happened to go on to therapy and talked about him in therapy, and I was talking about when we were kids. I think I would have been around 13 or 14. We're sorting out the dates and times of when this all took place. But anyways, Jed did this whole feature in my town. So I'm from a town called Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. Jed's from a town called Mayville, Wisconsin. Julie's also from Beaver Dam as well. But Jed did this thing. We all kind of share this same sort of local newspaper called the Daily Citizen. And Jed and his mom were a front cover story of that paper. And it was Jed's coming out. And... I had told him how that was so profound. I talked about in... hold on, he wants to interject something here.
No, go.
Oh, but anyways, I would just... the whole topic of why we got the idea, or where the sort of origins of the podcast came from, was that I talked about it in therapy, and I said how profound it was, and how, I really wanted to sort of... dissect and look at the ways that affected us, growing up, because that was a really big deal. Like that... when I talk about my experience in rural, central Wisconsin, it was really kind of great, and I get everybody didn't have that and whatever, but, I think Jed really turned our community really upside down with that, and I think it was phenomenal, and I think that there was real power to that, and he had never been told, when I told this to him, he had never been told that. I think he had kind of taken back a little bit, that had such a profound effect on me. And then I kind of talked about it. I was like, it'd be cool to talk about our stories with Julie. Julie, him, and I, and just anybody. We could have so many guests on the show that really could just, I don't know, like, it's been an interesting, we're all in our late 40s, and we have been doing this since, like, middle school. So you can only imagine, that's a lot of years of fucking stories. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to turn it over to Jed.
That's a lot of years of poor decisions.
Very poor decision.
Not to sound negative.
So what do you think of? So let me ask you, what do you think? What did you think when I told you that? When I talked to you about when I told you that I talked about it in therapy, and that how like I remember I got choked up because I was kind of like admitting to you that I think that one of the things that I thought was sort of an outcome of that happening was that you made it easier for the rest of us. That's why I remember, that's why I wanted to interject Julie into it, because I wanted, even though Julie was your age.
My timeline.
Right. I'm the younger one,
okay,
so
very quickly one must, if Julie Tesh is to lesbian what Jed Dietenberger is to faggot.
Nobody will understand that but us. This is the
that's
first
fine,
episode.
But that's fine. It just needs to be said. To me, Julie is almost exactly on my same. So she's doing for the fags and lesbians of Beaver Dam something that I wasn't able to do, which was to follow through with school and what have you. And that girl is a big fucking bull dyke, and she was a big bull dyke then, and she was a big bull dyke for her senior pictures, and she was a big bull dyke. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like she did it in her own like timeline, whereas for me because I was not actually from Mayville, Wisconsin. I was from the neighboring town, which I believe is smaller, and in my opinion, shittier still, Horicon, Wisconsin.
Oh.
And so
learning new things about each other that we didn't know. Maybe I might have known that. I just don't remember that.
Small, yeah. Okay. The thing for me is this: I can't.
Oh wow, it's downpouring.
I don't. Is everything closed?
I don't know. Probably yeah.
Oh, for me, I had not. I try not to think about certain things, and that time was super bad. And I think that if I was to write a movie, it would get. Okay, it doesn't matter if you talk with your hands, Jed. Just make sure you're telling them what you're doing.
I talk with my hand.
I think
they can't see them.
If I was to make it into a Mean Girls scenario, it would be condensed. But the reality was that what you saw was not actually about just. It was about us coming out to the world saying, look at this thing that's happening. And it was not just about being queer, it was also about being queer in Horicon, Wisconsin. And some kids at the time that were pretty set in what I'm sure their parents had taught them, and so on and back, you know what I mean? What was my point? How do I feel? How did it
affect you? Like, did it that like
again? That was
like
my point.
That right? You made it easier for us, but you had to kind of go through it.
I had to go through it, and then the ass end of that. This is why our hold on, we have a little tablet here when we want to write out something for you to not hear, and so I'm going to write out a name. We have a mutual friend that lived in Horicon, Wisconsin.
Oh, that hooker slut.
I would say
fuck her.
Fuck her. 5 years.
Fuck her.
Younger than me.
Gang banging, raping, slut that. Oh, I'm sorry. That we'd have to cut that out.
No, we didn't say a name. Anyway, and in that time, his coming out experience, him being queer in high school, was like he was the cool kid because of it. Like it had turned.
Oh
by
yeah.
the time he went to school. But me doing that still never went to high school again. I still had to get the HSED and what have you. So then all these years later, after I've tucked
whereas
that
we
away,
all got to enjoy high school and live our best lives, and because it was our newspaper. That's another thing I want to make a note of.
It was
is
like
that Jed is
regional.
like so that newspaper that I was talking about, the Daily Citizen. I mean, who it really reached was my town. That is, it came to everybody's town or whatever. It was definitely a Horicon, Mayville, Beaver Dam newspaper. It was a Dodge County newspaper.
Right, but it was mostly where it was.
Right, but it was centered around Beaver Dam. And so his reach, that's why I think a lot of it was, his reach was really, I think, profound and effective
Well, hear
in
this.
Beaver
Do you
Dam.
want to hear this? Do you know how that
whereas he got the bullying, we didn't get to see that. But of course, I knew it happened.
This is how my mother affected you, in my opinion. This is how
I was afraid of you, though.
I'm sure.
When I would see you at the mall, though, you were too gay for me. I was afraid of you.
I was extra
You were too gay for me. You were so gay with your fucking cowboy boots and your, like, your fringe and it was just, you were so gay.
Now I forgot what I was going to say
I'm
because I was
sorry.
very gay.
I just had a memory of you. I just had a memory of you at the mall that I forgot that I had. So, and it's icy cowboy boots and shorts.
Yeah. You saw like Cher style thigh high black boots that had like the cowboy tip. Excuse me, for the foot. They were Très Chic. They were from Shopko, I think, at the time.
Oh
Women's department.
Yeah, so I was definitely like, again, I was also really afraid of my queer. I didn't come out until I was technically 19, I think. Even though I definitely sucked dick before that, but I just didn't officially come out. Oh my god! And we'll get to my coming out story someday, but it's really embarrassing and like, it's so corny. It makes Jed's was profound and for a reason, and mine was sad and dumb and drunk. Anyways. And there's nothing cool about it except there's something cool.
Has like the whole drunk thing, like sad and drunk, and that's the whole experience.
Well, I mean, now I have to tell my coming out story just real quick. It's so dumb. Okay. So you had yours, but wait a second though. We want to get back to his because there was more to like. He told me stuff that I didn't realize. But anyways, mine really quick. Flash forward to mine. Mine was so after that article, mine still took. At least 6 years, I would say, a solid 6 years from the time of that article before I actually came out, which is a long time because, again, I remember that article being profound to me. But when I came out, I was on Christmas break of my freshman year of college, and I had a fake ID, and I had just gone out to the bars, and I got dropped off, and I was really drunk, and... Batman and Robin was out currently at the movie theater, starring Batman Forever, starring the one with
nipples.
Yes, the nipples and the whole thing and freeze and whatever, and and
maybe you should chill out. Yeah.
No, wait, it was the one with the kiss from a rose. No, I think that was the third one.
No, that was the one with Arnold.
It was Batman Forever, the one with Drew. It was the first one with Chris O'Donnell. The first one with Chris O'Donnell is the third one. Okay, we cannot go on a fucking comic tangent.
Next,
because if we start talking about Batman,
it was the one with the nipples, though. That's what we both knew for sure.
Yes,
we both.
No, Chris O'Donnell. So, anyways, that was the whole point of my coming out story. Is that I had a huge hard on because I saw that stupid movie Mad Love with Drew Barrymore and Chris O'Donnell, and then and then Batman Forever, which is part 3 of the Tim Burton Batman series, came out. And I think Schumacher was making them at that point. And that was the first introduction of Chris O'Donnell, where he was in the poster and that song, Kiss from a Rose. I don't know what... Kiss from a Rose, picture Chris O'Donnell, unlocked Magay. And I, on Christmas Eve, called Julie Tesh, drunk as fuck.
See?
In my dad's kitchen, and I don't believe anybody was home. My dad might have been at home and like sleeping, which is funny because I'm sure I was talking very loudly, but I was like, Julie, I gotta tell you something. And I did it just like that, just drunk. I was like, I'm so gay. And I told her about my crush on Chris O'Donnell. And, she's like, oh my God. So it's funny that I picked Julie. Julie had to be the first person. And I had to, and I knew, but that power of that saying it to just the first person, it's so interesting. It's fascinating. So now to swing it back to you, who is the real first person? Because that article, that's again some context that I would I need Jed to add. That article was not the beginning. His beginning.
You remember your question. I will say this. I was thinking, what... If there was anything that was uplifting about that moment, if there was more than just you, not that that's not enough, but if there was anyone that was uplifted in that moment, they were uplifted by my mother. I will say that because here was a little faggot, and like he described earlier, there's a reason I'm probably using that word that's bleeped out. I was very gay. This woman did not have a gay son. She had a gay son. And when the school system wouldn't work with him...
That's what you were doing at the mall.
Oh, yeah. I was doing a talent show at the mall, lip sync. To fucking George Michael.
That's what you were doing, and you had, there was it was so
Think
gay.
about this. How many
So
other
gay.
parents at that time
So gay.
would have said, just play along, just be quiet, just whatever. And I was getting physically assaulted, it's a whole story to be told. But Georgia had none of that. Georgia, even though it was meant more difficult things for me, in the long run, if I think about it, stood up and said, no, So all of that, any press, because we were also on Wisconsin Public Television, you can look us up, that was her sticking up for me. And if that meant to me that she was sticking up for me, it meant that I think with gay people, with gay men, a lot of the times their coming out isn't until much later, and so their adolescence is a little bit later. And you can clock these guys in the community. I am one of the few. I am one of the lucky, because of Mom, that when I came out, it was like 12 or 13 years old. It was quite young, and it wasn't a thing. So like she affected me in a way that was positive, and the fact that tiered out into the community, into people that she didn't know. Because here's the thing, I am a gay man, I am Norman Bates, I'm going to bring it all back to Mommy, right? But the reality is that it was her decision to not let me down and let the school system fuck me. No. That affected you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So my coming out story is another story.
So it was just Georgia being kind of an activist in a way.
Georgia,
and a crazy ally.
100%.
Or whatever. Like,
yeah, listen,
the flag.
That woman, you want to hear, ladies and gentlemen,
the flag.
Was Georgia an ally? My 14th, my 16th birthday, she and my brother held me a surprise party at La Cage, which is a huge gay bar in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yes, anybody from here knows. We know that because of
He Who Shall Not Be Named. Yes. Also, there's a few.
I got kicked out of that bar one time for naming He Who Shall Not Be Named.
That shit's
yes.
funny.
Oh, you are not.
Oh, no, I know that.
No.
Let me
you didn't know that I got
kicked
kicked out that?
No,
yeah. I got kicked out for saying his name in the bar.
Because you're an idiot.
Well, I didn't know that it would be like that big of a deal.
Honey, duh. Anyway, what was the point?
Your brother and your mom threw you this party at La Cage, and how sweet it was.
Oh, that was the thing, was that she was an immense ally. That I had been to...
And that was your 16th birthday?
Yep. I had already been to Gay Pride and what have you, Matt Fest, all of these things in Milwaukee. That poor woman would drive back and forth just to make sure I got to these kind of like life breath moments of queer existence, knowing that I was still fucking trapped in Horicon with her. She was quite aware, but it was...
That's very lucky.
I was going to the Gay Pride celebration in Milwaukee before it was at the... where is it now?
I have no idea.
What the fuck is it now?
Now it's at Summerfest grounds.
There
Pride is now at Summerfest grounds in Milwaukee. Yes.
Now it's an event.
The Madison one is still a shit show.
I remember when it was like a little bitty thing, with a little bitty parade and...
Just in that area where like...
Yep.
Not just La Cage,
not by the lake, but
there was that other bar that we don't talk about because it's also gone because of He Who We Don't Speak Of.
Come on, I just want to take some pictures.
No, we can't.
We just did.
No,
they can.
We can't
if they can't deal with that, they can suck my.
No, I know. I do not want to. We can have an episode about that because we all lived through that too. You know what I mean? Like, that is definitely something we can talk about later. That is not going to be a topic.
Okay, we're being redirected, and I must.
Do you agree, though? Right, that we don't want to like talk about that's actually a great idea.
Why?
Like, well, whatever.
Not right now.
No.
But as a topic?
Oh,
yeah, that'd be a good...
Well, stay tuned. Someday we'll talk about the infamous... so I'm 47. Jed, you're... Just say your fucking age.
Oh, aren't you polite? 47.
Yeah. You're 47?
Yes.
We're the same
I
age.
was waiting for this revelation. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyways, we're both 47, and we're both from Wisconsin and born and raised, and that means we were adult teenage men when Jeffrey Dahmer happened. And my husband, in fact, was in college in Milwaukee when it happened. And so that can definitely I don't, like I said, I don't want to focus on that right now, and that's an off-topic spin that we can talk about, we can.
For me, it was this. For me, I don't think it's distasteful to say this, that was a cultural moment, meaning do I remember it? I remember sitting and watching the trial like it was nobody's business, waiting for him to talk. You know what I mean? Near the end, like all of that kind of stuff. But I didn't have a story that legitimately tied me to something.
Well, and that's again why I don't like talking about it. There's a really good reason why I don't like talking about it, because his victims were solely people of color, and so I don't think that, you know what I mean. Like, we had the privilege of, even if we mingled, and if any of us even mingled in his circle for 1 second without our knowledge, we wouldn't have mattered, and that's such a privilege. We have to acknowledge that we were white men and we weren't his victims.
Oh, I don't know if you're ready for this. Are you ready to maybe admit to something?
What?
And that is, do you remember the second Dahmer movie?
What was that? The one with Jeremy Renner?
219. Yeah.
The Jeremy Renner one is the best one. Hands down.
Is that the hot, yummy one?
Yes, that's Hawkeye.
What I was going to say.
Marvel.
Yeah, is that we had, when those first came out, mostly that. Very flippantly made the jokes like, I would be his victim, whatever.
Yeah.
We can make that joke because, I can make
behind
that
our
joke
privilege.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm well aware.
Oh yeah, but I think even then I was aware. I was like, because I'll never forget.
This is what shines.
Okay, that's not terribly invasive.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what you can't see is that we are in my living room, and I've just moved my leopard geckos into the living room, and there's a large light, not large, medium, I suppose, light that comes on and off on a timer, and the problem is that it shines through my apartment to my bedroom, and it doesn't, now that I've said that, I can say, it doesn't look like much now, but when everything is dark, Main Street is dark, that fucker is like a...
If I can interject, for right now, it actually does not seem awfully... As you described it as being a lot worse. And again, I agree. Like, maybe in the dark time, when the lights are on, it will be different. But anyways, for now, I think it's okay. Anyways, now we have to get back to where we were.
Which is where
oh
were
my gosh, we were just talking about how that's one thing that Georgia was so good at. Georgia was so good at injecting you into gay culture in Milwaukee, because because that was when she still had a relationship with Jason. And so that's, again, another topic that will come up in it can be a whole nother episode.
Yeah, well, it is. Whatever. She had a gay son that, she had a gay son that came out very preppy, that kind of gig from the 80s, professional, and he taught her that not all gay men are like some super huge faggots.
And he's like my sister. He's just that age where they're just the older generation of us are just baby boomers.
Wait for the punchline. And then a few years later, she had Jed. And that told her that some faggots are just screaming, you know what I mean, gay men. So she had to deal with two kinds of... I don't know how... when my mom died, it took a while before I could have conversations with, let's say, my father. And because these people that are older than me, my father, my aunt, whoever... They had whole relationships and worlds where they knew my mother that were beyond me. Oh my God, I'm going to lose my place in all of this, aren't I?
No.
And so, the idea of hearing the negative or the real, where am I? Oh, I did lose myself.
No, I remember being at your mom's funeral and like you having been, it was not only did you have anxiety about Jason and facing and how that whole weirdness. Remember how Jason left? I remember. I'll never that image. That whole moment was like burned into my brain. Watching him leave as we're walking up.
like just a bitch, not even making fucking eye contact with you.
Yeah.
And like being such a cunt. Like he was serving cunt, like cunt serves cunt. But what I remember your anxiety, once that ended, you immediately flipped over to what you're just about to talk about. Is all your mother's relationships and all those sort of like things that you had to remember and be on top of and like focus on for the day. And
not just the day.
Just because your mom knew so many people. I was there. That place was fucking...
If you talk to my mother...
blowing up.
Well, I will say this. That was like a foreshadowing of things to come. Because, here or there with Georgia, if you needed a prom dress... Excuse me. And your family could not do a prom dress. I went there one year when a bride had paid her with literal chickens. Because that's what the fuck could be done, and she made it happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so to this not that long ago at Walmart, literally this year, it slowed down. But at first it was like a nightmare. It was why half the reason I was so pilled up on Valium and what have you was it didn't stop because Georgia did that for so many people and interacted so nicely with so many people that I would be out and about and you'd be getting it. It was like being in that line at the funeral home, but it didn't matter. You were at Shopko, you were at the Piggly Wiggly, and you're getting that tap, tap, tap. Were you Georgia's son? And you had to like put on the face again. So mourning wasn't just mourning how I felt about my mother, because she was known. We'll say that. Right.
Well, she owned a bridal shop in this town, so people should know that. Like that's his mom was very much a staple in the town of Mayville.
But it was also,
and then just in our county,
moments,
like we all came to Mayville to get our tuxedos.
In those moments, I'm not shitty. I'm just really grateful that they are having a memory of my mom. Do I remember the pink dress that Becky wore in 2007? No. Well, but I will happily nod and say, "Oh my gosh, that's right." Because Georgia picked it out, you know, or whatever.
And what, again, here's
Why
something...
did I start talking about my fucking dead mother?
No, because again, she was in... I'm about to explain why.
Okay, well,
100%. And I was going to bring it all... I was going to bring a full circle for you. No, it's all good.
Go.
Because she was an integral part of that story, and something that we've really not acknowledged. And that her part in that story, and her part of being on that front page of that newspaper, is the fact that she was a parent standing by her child's side, loving them, and not giving a fuck that they were gay. And that was the message that, like, our parents didn't get. Like, Julie's parents got it, but Julie's parents had it before. Like,
they kind of see there's the
timeline. They had it naturally. Like, they didn't. And that didn't happen for all of our parents. That definitely didn't happen for my parents. I don't even know if my parents read that article, but. For me, I got to see that, and that was also profound. So Georgia had just as big a role in that article as you did. You know what I mean? Like you were the centerpiece, definitely, but Georgia was sort of the arm and the strength behind like she had to show true allyship and be like, look I'm a fucking parent who's gonna sit next to my gay ass kid. Because like you said, that's what you were saying.
Yes.
Because you were kind of a handful, and you were kind of loud. Like you were really like a loud gay kid too. You were really like, hey girl, just living her best life in my hooker boots.
Full glam.
Like full glam. She's the moment. She's it. She's everything. And your mom loved you through all that. And that's what, again, I think was the point of why I held that. Maybe that's one of the reasons I held it. Just as much as I think your actual coming out, I held endearing. I think that Georgia standing by your side for it was also a huge part of it. So that's why we're talking about Georgia. Do you get it?
I gotcha. Yeah,
there we go. Do you see why we brought it full circle? Why we had to... We have to give props to Georgia in her chair that I was just sitting in.
In her... There's a chair that nobody ever sits in because it's like a stiff chair.
She's hugging my clothes.
And she sat in that chair. I got it from her when she died. It's weird. Anyway, both of us, if we're going to say anything, I will keep it to your say hello. She's right there. I have my
grandpa's end table.
She's right there.
Hi, Georgia. Hey,
so,
girl.
like, hey, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's in a decorative urn on my mantle.
I'm excited to display. I have... Not excited, I should. That sounds
terrible.
I
can't wait till people die and I can put them on.
No, but like Edward's sort of shrine, I kind of built one, but I didn't get his ashes are still in the box, and I need to get them into. I bought him a urn. an urn. I went the day, like a couple days after he passed away, and after I got that fucking crazy letter, you saw the letter. When I got that crazy letter, a girlfriend of mine was like, "Let me get you out of the house," and I'm like, "Oh, can we go thrifting so I can go find a fucking urn or an urn?" Why can't I say it right?
I don't know.
It's an urn. An urn. Josh has pronunciation issues. Just like we should say that out loud. Like, okay, but anyways. I was searching that, and literally the first place we go, I find exactly what I wanted. It's this stunning, like, gold metal thing, and it's, like, whatever. But it's got the top to get him in there. I have to manipulate the bag, and I'm like, oh, God. And I tried, and it was like, I can't... when you have to actually touch the ashes or touch even the bag, it's like...
It feels granulated. It's fucked up.
It's fucked up. It's weird, and I don't... I tried and I couldn't. I was like, maybe someday I'll do that.
Did I tell you about the silly dog story about his little metal thing?
No.
Okay, the dog was fucking awesome, and I loved this dog, and when he passed, I thought, he needs a special kind of urn, and I looked high and I looked low, and I thrifted, and I went here, and I went there, and I couldn't find it, and then one day I'm just so fucking pissed, because I had a dog, they gave me a small cardboard package. I was fucking mad, and I one day just, I'm just going to dump it in with my mother, who, like I said, is on the same mantle. And when I ripped it open, that's when I realized that he had come with his own urn.
Yeah.
All of that headache for no fucking reason.
Oh, yeah, no, Edward came, so when I got Edward, so Edward had, oh, God, this is so Portland. So, again, I've been living in Portland, Oregon for the past 9 years, and when my baby passed away, since I did the at-home euthanasia, they do eco-friendly, so he was water composted, or water cremated. It's like composting. You have to Google it. I can't. I didn't want to Google it. I didn't want to know. I just thought, I'm like, okay. But it took longer than normal, so it took it was like a 3-week to a month process, and yes. So then whatever. And they're ashes, they're real ashes, but whatever. He also came in, so they gave him to me in, a little bag, and it was very sweet, but then again, he's in a nice box. It's not an ugly box. It's, decorative, so I could, literally hide it and make it look like it's, meant to be, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I have this really cool... this urn. What I like about the urn and why I want to get it used is because his collar fits around the top of it perfectly.
Do you know that when they gave me Silly Dog, this is your brain on feelings, and you'll understand when I finish. When they gave me Silly Dog, they gave me a neat little circle of mushy clay that they had pushed his hand into. Oh. And they bejeweled it, and it said Seth. So 2 things. In our lives, we have the names we have for our pets, and the ones that we use when we find them endearing. Because to me, it was like they might as well have given me Max or Joel or something. You know what I mean? I was like, this is not my dog. It was, because his paperwork still said...
Oh, right.
Do you know what I mean? Once upon a time. Anyway, and then I couldn't get past... the fact that he was not alive when they had him step into the... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a dead paw print. And that really creeped me out. So it found a home at Rose's house. Rose was kind of like his grandma. And she was okay with it. She loved it. But I myself, so twofold, yeah.
I have prints. But they're on paper. And I agreed to them, and it's funny, that's really weird that you're talking about this right now, because I actually just found them today.
Oh, yeah.
When I was digging to get all the stupid PlayStation stuff out, I found them, hanging out, and they weren't bent, but they had, a curve, and I was like, oh my God. So I immediately threw them in a book, and, shut the book, and I was like, I will not forget they're in this book. I will completely forget they're in this book.
Of course. Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking, too, okay, so... off topic. Anyways, what else are we going to talk about? Our pilot episode.
On topic, exactly, the pilot. So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. We both don't necessarily know
who
what
you
we're
fucking.
Doing. Hold on, and we'll get to that. This number right here, may I question? No, let them hear it. We're looking at our screen. We don't necessarily, know timing yet. What are we going for? 60 minutes?
Oh, I have no idea.
45,
a normal you know, like if it monetizes, then it has to be at least, I think, 60 minutes.
60, all right. And we are currently at about 35. So if you are following along with us,
thank you. We're just talking naturally.
Yeah.
Like we don't really like we had a I talked about like I understand sort of how to script a like it sounds really fucking conceited, but whatever. I get it. I know I could MC and
I will say this, ladies and
produce
gentlemen. There's a reason I'm letting him deal with all of this. So when he says that,
well, right now, what we're even doing, we're just right now. This might not even happen, is because this episode.
Well, it's happening, but it might not float.
Right, but we're just testing the audio right now. Like we definitely someday, if this is serious, we want to get mics and mic it up and do it directly into GarageBand. Like that's what we learned today. The stupid mistake I made is that I could have found some headphones or something that we had, like just something with.
No, the stupid mistake he made was that we had done recording multiple times before we realized that it wasn't audible because you had your
we can't do the Bluetooth because we had the Bluetooth hooked up and
he's like, why can't we hear it?
And it sounded all kinds of terrible. So we are testing this, like I said before, on the thing and. But yeah, anyways, we're also winging this, so nothing is really structured right now. But future episodes would definitely be structured and MC'd a little more. But I don't know. I think we're kind of doing pretty good for just winging it.
Here's the answer to your question.
Who might fuck it?
Is that I was in a relationship that started when I was maybe 16 or 17.
Oh, yes.
And then, that lasted for like 23, 24 years, whatever it was worth. And what that means for me is that I have the mentality of, I can be a huge whore. I can let him do everything to me and just do horrible things and leave and blah, blah, blah. And yet, I don't know how to be single. Does that make sense? I don't know how to be open to receptive to the idea of not being who I was. We've talked about that.
Yeah, how relationships and marriage sort of like strip you of who you are and you just become that. And then when it goes away, you're like, I have to be myself again, but shit, I forgot who I am. But you're still the same. It's very hard to sort of articulate or explain because you can tell that you're yourself. You're like, I'm myself, but I'm changed. And for me, I don't know your experience. Well, I mean, I kind of know your experience, but I would like you to articulate it. But for me, it was that I'm better. Like Thane, for better or for worse, however our, relationship ended and why it ended is irrelevant because what he did, one thing I will never talk shit about that man about, I will talk shit about the end of our relationship, but I will not say that he did not profoundly change me.
Yeah.
Yes. Like in such a good, positive way. Like everything that he, shaped. But then, the takeaway from that is, again, I'm now like a lost boy who has like zero direction and doesn't know what to do.
You can stomp around the world and like stick your appendages into anything, but it's not happening.
I don't want to.
See? Yeah.
And that's really weird.
So I will say this about my experience, to lift it up again. There's a gentleman in this town. All right. This part's only for the ladies. And moreover, the ladies that don't have gay friends to explain what Grindr is. I find it abhorrent. Is that a word?
Yes.
When I turn on Grindr in my small town, where 9 out of 10 ladies would say, "Oh, my husband's not gay. He doesn't even know gay things." Right? But you know as well as I do, you popped them on, and all around your small town there are all these straight guys, right? Quote unquote straight guys. Ladies, look at your man's phone and see if he's on Grindr, and that should be self-explanatory why you're done with that. You know what I'm saying? However,
should we have a fuck off tonight? Should I download Grindr and see who gets laid first?
You will see. No, because I'll end up crying. Here's the thing.
I'll end up crying.
Let me tell my story first.
And throwing it. Okay, go. Sorry.
My story first is that there is a heterosexual, quote unquote, gentleman. So even though I'm not doing anything, there is a gentleman that lives in Mayville, and I don't know if his lady is okay with that or if she's not okay with that. I don't really know. Blah blah blah. But I see him in certain spurts and moments. Spurts. at moments, you know what I mean, here and there, and it is very like nice conversation, crazy gay sex, huge dick. I don't know that you can. You're gonna have to be all of that. Can we say that?
But
That he had a huge dick?
well, no. Yeah, why couldn't we say that? We can say whatever the fuck we want.
Okay,
It's our pod. Remember, it's
I'm
not
afraid-
yours. It's ours.
It's not theirs either. You know how I have this little bit of like a pokey tooth right here? I can't open it up wide enough that that's not dragging across the bottom. So it's lovely. It's lovely. It reminds me why I like dick. And then it goes back to living its life with Felicia or whatever her name is.
Okay, that is really interesting. Good for you for having like so. Occasionally, you get some local dick.
Occasionally, but here's the thing. All right. Explain to me my lack of vision or the gay community's standards being turned on their heads. When I was a younger man and I was more ripped, okay, no, I'm sorry, this will be Craigslist. And I put out an ad that was my face, and it was like, hey, this is whatever gay community, because they have no gay community. And I got jokes, I got nothing, I got, thumbs down, essentially. And then I put up the same ad with a picture of my abdomen. And, I'm getting all these questions.
Oh, that, okay, yeah.
And I was like, that's fucking garbage.
Yeah, that one picture you have. I know what picture you're talking about.
With
the side picture.
With,
yes.
Yeah.
It's very blues.
Yep.
Yes.
With Grindr is the same thing. You want to see even the difference between, if you want to see your gay privilege, we would put together an ad that would be me, and you put together an ad that would be you, but put us in the same location, and you're going to hit. You're going to get the hits. I will get silence.
Because you've been here.
Not just because I'm doing it anywhere.
No.
I'm not that faggot. Yep.
I do not. I bet if you took that picture versus my picture.
Yeah, but that's a lie because I'm not that person anymore.
No, well, whatever. Like.
I think that, listen, that's another thing for the quotey finger straight. They're afraid. There's one gentleman that came over and let me blow him, and he works for 911. Over Grindr, he's like, by the way, I know your ex. By the way, I know what happened that night. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how did you fucking know? And it was because he was the 911 guy. Also, am I doing this? Also, from that night, there was another guy, and he was very close to me in distance, and he was doing the same thing. He was like, I know what your living room looks like. I know what happened that night. And I'm like, oh, what is this? And he turned out to be from the EMS.
Oh my God. When I asked who you're fucking, I did not think that we were going to get this tall.
I'm not fucking them.
Well, I know, but
I should tell you the story about the man that started crying while he was blowing me.
What? What? Well, tell the story about the man who was crying that was blowing you.
No, it's really a downer. In the end, the guy. Excuse me.
Was he disappointed in your penis?
No, he was disappointed that. No.
That's all that matters.
There was a heroin addict living with me for a hot minute.
Oh.
And he was trying to come off heroin, and he is. I showed you that picture. We were talking about the ones, right? And he is creamy, delicious to the all right, but heroin addict. And in the end, it came to like, get a job or you have to get the fuck out, whatever. So he did. And what I didn't know is that he had found him on Grindr, and that he decided to. I never felt really like used because I told him to get the fuck out, but to pull one over on this guy here in Mayville that is another gay man, perfectly nice, whatever. He's lying about the gag reflex, though, let me say that. But what happened was he ended up making contact with me, like, at the food pantry, I want to say. And he was like, and he started asking all these questions about, I have to use a name. I don't have to use a name. What name are we going to use?
Oh, who cares? Just whatever.
Like, ask me all these questions about Randon and how Randon was, because didn't Randon stay with you for a while? And I keep giving him money, and he disappears to Madison. I'm like, you're paying for him. One night it was like, he's not moving. I'm like, why are you texting me? Why aren't you going, get a hold of the EMS or whatever? But with all of that going on, I didn't realize that the familiarity, that's me being nice, I'll say familiarity, not like sex, but sex. Anyway, that things that I had done with this young man who was having fun, and I'm not going to shame him for anything, he had set him up and milked him by saying that he didn't do these things. So when this other gentleman, was talking to me and talking real big about whatever, in his mind it was the whole Randon thing that was revving him up. But then when he started going down on me, because he was like, oh, there's no depth to my whore throat. He was one of those older guys, right? Oh my God. And I was like, okay, come on over, let's see about that. Liar. Total liar. But anyway, every time he would come up, it was like something was happening in his mind that made it sexy. And like, did you and Randon do this? And I'd be like, yeah. Yeah. And then he's going back down on me and like gagging and whatever. And then, did you and Randon do this? And yeah. And it didn't occur to me really at the time that like these things were breaking his heart because Randon would do these things with him. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Like,
so it's a huge punchline, but if I am to be nice to the guy,
sad.
His heart was breaking in that moment. And okay, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Because there was a moment where like
oh my God. So gross. So straight up cry choking on it, like, oh my God.
Yeah, like there was multiple reasons for the tears.
Oh my God.
And I was like, you need to go.
One of the first sticks.
No, wait for it.
Okay.
You know what's funny? You know what the punchline is?
I thought you just said it.
No.
What?
The punchline is that, when he went home, Randon was there. He was still living with him. And so I guarantee you he went home and I was like, I was just joking. And he told me something. Anyway, yeah. There's a story about sex for you. I have horrible. You want to hear something funny? I have great. It involves Silly Dog, so that's like the best thing for me ever. I enjoy talking about him, but he was a rascal. And there was a gentleman that had come down from like Appleton, and until I got here, I did not understand that he kind of registered more as a bottom. And I was like, okay, we'll have fun. I get it. And so we are in that bedroom with the door closed, but because my apartment is wonky, it's not like shuttable. And I am topping him as I see the door opening and the dog coming in and the dog coming in. Oh and so there's like this rhythm to him getting railed. And I'm worried about like, I'm going to have to yell at the dog. I'm going to have to yell at the dog. And God bless him. God bless this bottom. While he's taking it in rhythm, just reaches out and starts petting the dog.
Oh my God, that is disturbing. Well, since you shared your fuck talks, I guess I'll share my dumb ones. Since I've been divorced, the only person I've had sex with since my husband. But there's been some. It might have been very gross and awful, and I want to tell them really quickly because it won't take a second. So they started when I moved. So they've only been about a year. I only started having sex for about a year, and I got on the prep. And the first time was when I was coming back from the last time I visited here. I was driving back to Oregon in my little Honda, and I met this guy. I stopped at my hotel, and I met this guy on, I think it was Grindr or Scruff. I think it was Scruff. And so I was in Billings, Montana. And I was staying in my hotel, and I met this guy on Scruff, and he actually was really close, like 2 miles away. And I was like, okay, and he was cute. Like, in this picture, he was totally cute. And I was like, oh my God, score. Like, this is all perfect. Like, okay, whatever. Blah. So I went over to his house, and again, it seemed really normal. The apartment seemed normal. But as soon as I got in there, and, like, he was all geared up, I was like, meth. God damn it. And so, anyways, I just proceeded to fuck him anyway, just to get out of there, like, fucking run. Like, that's what I learned from Sloppy Seconds. So, kudos to Meatball and Big Dipper, because they've taught me to just fucking run. And, or, like, I had passed the point where I couldn't bounce before I figured out that he was a meth head. But, like, I mean, whatever. He had a nice place, and he was a functional meth head, I would say, whatever. But that And we fucked, and I left, and I got away, and I immediately was like, went back, everything was fine. So that was the first time. Then the second time was kind of similar, like it was the time when I got home and I started putzing around with the stupid apps, living in that apartment. And again, I had one more meth guy who was actually really hot. And he thought he was like, again, he was very, I keep getting the really functional meth heads who can trick me into like believing they're not meth heads, and then I get there and I'm like, you're a fucking meth head. I've now had 3 of them. And so, a total of 3. I've had one person who might have been, but I don't. The fisting guy. Like, that was... So, the fisting guy, and then... I think I've had 3 meth heads and a fisting guy. So, yeah, that's been my sexploration for the last year. And I'm over it. I'm so over it. I want to be in a relationship.
I should give you my guy's phone number. I was thinking about this while you were speaking. I care enough about that dick that if he wasn't comfortable with his name, not even his name, but like his likeness, his whatever, and being in this video, I would ask you to censor it.
What?
Any mention of the dick.
Whose dick?
His dick.
Who's dick?
I don't know, I confused myself.
I was like,
I was making an innuendo.
I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like,
it didn't land.
I thought you had somebody. I'm like, do you have somebody to? I'm like, do you have dick to introduce me to? I was like, okay.
Here's the thing, and I do actually, and his whole thing is that because he comes over and he's very giving in that he he'll play. I have stories about this guy, but anyway, he takes a dominant role right with me, and he's okay with that. Knowing that's not going to like turn around, but he is somebody that would love to be turned around on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why am I talking about this?
I don't know.
Josh.
I don't know. Because it was called Fuck. We're doing our own version. Sorry, we don't mean to rip off Sloppy Seconds. This is just one of my favorite podcasts. So kudos to Meatball and Big Dipper. We're not trying to rip off Fuck Talk. But that's what we're kind of talking about. Like, again, like, you know, we have to, you know, a podcast should be structured, and we're practicing with our podcast right now. And so the idea of it should be structured in a way that, you know, we tell a funny story, we talk about, you know, we introduce ourselves, we sort of say what's hot for the week, what our current lives are. But then I like the idea of sort of like a sexual element to it. Like what's, you know, especially when Julie Tesh is here, because that bitch eats so much fucking pussy. It's ridiculous. Like, it is ridiculous. You want to see a fucking, like, I don't want to slut shame, like, but there's no buts. I don't want to slut shame. Julie's just a slut. And that's okay. And that is okay. But Julie is just a slut. And I'm a slut. I mean, I'm a slut. Like, the stories I just described, that's all happened this year. And so, whatever. So I'm just a slut.
Don't backpedal. Listen, you're a slut. Julie Tesh is the holy mother of sluts.
Yeah. Like, I almost wish I was a better slut. Like, she can really do the detachment. Like, I get attached really quickly because I think I want... because my husband... That's the one thing that's the stain that Thane left behind... Oh my God, did I just write a lyric? That is the stain that Thane left behind, was the fucking idea of fucking monogamy and how I need that, like, to survive. Barf. I have to shake that. It's like it has to do totally with the reasons that I can't deal with threesomes. I'm weirded out by threesomes. I don't want to, when I jump on the apps, I get bombarded by couples constantly. Like, I don't know what the fuck is stamped on my forehead that says I'm a couple and I want to be with a couple. That is the last thing I want to be with. Like, oh my God, no. Like, oh, no. I would feel jealous. I would be like, ugh. I'd feel like such a third wheel. Like, oh, no. I have no interest in that.
Yeah.
Isn't that, like, yeah, no. I would be with two strangers, 100%. Like, I've done that before. I have totally done that before and had a really good time. Had, like, a fucking mad orgy on lots of cocaine. Yeah. For, like, hours. Just fucking. Just me and 2 dudes just fucking in a fancy-ass hotel room and just fucking doing coke and fucking, I even bottomed.
Oh, hurrah.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good time bottoming. I just need cocaine to bottom. I'm just kidding. It helps, though.
Bottom?
Huh?
To bottom.
to bottom.
How so?
I don't know. When I am on cocaine, I have opposite of, you know how like lots of people report getting like limp dick or whatever? I turn into like a sexual monster on cocaine. All I want to do is fuck, and I can fuck for hours on cocaine. And I can like, and again, and all of a sudden like that, like my butthole relaxes, which just makes no sense because again, you'd think I was doing speed, so I would make all my muscles really tense. No. That's why again, I totally have functioning, some kind of a functional. So back to we're neurospicy people. There's a really good example of that. I have definitely some spectrum autism because yeah, I do a little cocaine and my, one of the reasons I don't bottom is because I have issues inside of my butt and it's very uncomfortable for me and I don't feel like I should be forced into enjoy, like if it's not comfortable, I don't do it. And so, but because I'm a little sissy, I'm a sissy butch. People just make the assumption that I'm a bottom, and I'm really not at all. But I have, like whatever. So,
I'm not a bottom,
and it's not even like I wouldn't.
I'm not a bottom.
This is what's so funny about like whenever Julie makes those jokes, I'm just like, if I was a bottom, I would actually wear it loud and proud like a badge. Like I would be like skanky about it, and like I'd probably be dead also, but whatever. Like,
I think the root of that is when you were first coming out, and at some point it became a joke, and then you continued to. It's like what you would tell a child at school, like just ignore it, it'll go away. But it's the response, the consistent response, that all she has to do is make it mentioned that you will be bottoming. And I'm not a bottom. I'm not a bottom.
This is true.
So,
like really, like that. That's a very good point. Is that you're right. Every time that she intentionally just does it to trigger me and to fuck with me, and I'm like, and I should know that by now. Like, duh, she's literally been doing that since we were fucking teenagers. Like 14, 15 years old. She has been doing that. So whatever.
Well,
or no, I'm sorry. No, she didn't start doing that until I was probably gay. No, I feel like she's been doing that.
I was probably gay.
Well, like okay, I'm like no. I think Julie's. Because Julie and I were boyfriend and girlfriend in 8th grade.
That's some shit.
Oh my god, yeah. Julie and I were boyfriend and girlfriend in 8th grade, and then we broke up. I broke up with her in middle school. I remember it was tragic. It was so tragic. She was goth in middle school.
Julie Tesh was goth.
In middle school, she was. Oh, she was so goth. Julie was so goth. Oh my god, yes. The hair, the lipstick. The really super subtle makeup, like that's why she's technically like she's like butch femme queen, but she's like no, she is like fucking lipstick a little bit too. Like
we'll have to let the viewers decide.
Yes. If we ever someday we could turn this in. This is potentially has the chance to be a YouTube channel thing that we could do this live from, and so or we could record it as in video format. Like anything, we want to be able to do that.
We should do a second one today, but video format.
We could try to do that in video format and see how that goes. We could do episode 2 today because just a heads up, folks, we are rounding up. We've only got about a minute and a half left, and so what's nice is that thank you for everybody who stuck around for this first pilot episode. If it makes it to air. I'm assuming it will. We haven't had any too many hiccups where we've been like, oh my god, unless the audio turns out like crap. Like that's the one thing we don't know. This is in a living room. We do not have a microphone. We are testing. We probably shouldn't have rambled on for a whole hour without doing any sort of like stop to see if it worked. But we wanted to be transparent and continuous and like genuine. Like that's the point of this is that like the fact that we were able to wing it for this whole hour and not, like we have one scribble and it doesn't even make sense. And so, yeah, welcome everybody to Smocks and Shit.
Smocks and Shit. Here's the thing. I have a question for any podcasters out there. After you recorded your first episode, did you have a sudden shrinking feeling in your testicles because of what you had shared and how it was going to show up in the podcast? Because that's what I'm feeling right now. I forgot that we were recording in a whole lot of moments, and I was talking about horrible things. So that's good for you. And like he said.
That was the point.
Like he said.
It captures the genuine.
Oh, no. Oh, boy. Well, I am a slut, apparently. I'm just not a good slut.
Oh, whatever. We're all sluts for gay men. Anyways, well, thank you for joining us. Hopefully next time, next time we're going to try to do a video one and see how that goes.
We're going to make fried chicken.
Yes, but we'll see you later.
All right.
Oh my God, that's so gay.